OIL right now.
All right. This is episode 5 of the Oil Hour. Tonight, to start out, you've got me and Zerger. Zerger manages the Redlegs in the AFC. Notably absent is Duffy. And I just want to say that there's a nasty rumor out there that Duffy has not made the podcast the last 2 weeks because he's 1-4. His season is in ruins. He has no chance, and he's ashamed. And I know that he's 1-4, and I know that he's never won a championship, and he won't win a championship this year, but that is not the reason he's missing the podcast. He's missing the podcast because his daughter was born 2 or 3 hours ago. So last week, he was doing some stuff to help his pregnant wife. This week, he was in the delivery room. He has a newborn baby, so I guess that's a good enough excuse not to come on to our little podcast where we talk about our fake football teams.
I think he's in a bar somewhere singing Pearl Jam songs at karaoke.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty good bet. He probably took a look at the kid and said, "Good job, babe," and then went to the bar.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, his wife and my wife play in a fantasy football league together. And since Duffy and I are rivals, my wife has taken a call in her game with his wife, the Wivalry.
Wow, that's pretty clever, actually.
Yeah, I like that. So, yeah. And my wife won the Wivalry this week. It came down to Antonio Gates versus Antonio Brown. And I told her, "You're not going to win this. Antonio Brown's going to beat you." But Gates won. So, Gates had like 30 points. Nobody saw that coming.
No.
All right. I'm going to...
It's kind of surprising, too, because the Steelers' defense has played lights out,
They've been better than people expected with that new coordinator.
Most definitely.
Okay, Zerger, we're going to talk about the AFC, your conference. So last week, you had the unenviable task of going up against the Vultures.
Right.
Now, we know Brosh's team is maybe the favorite to win it all, but you beat them by 40 points. How'd that go down?
Well, really what helped me out was the Sunday night game and the fact that the Cowboys did a good job of stopping Gronkowski early on throughout the game. Didn't really let him get started with Tom Brady taking 5 sacks in the first half. Anytime you limit Gronkowski to 10 points, that's a huge win. And then Moncrief didn't have a very good game. He only had 1 point for Brosh. And really everything else other than that was pretty average. Michael Vick put up his usual 16 points. Jeremy Maclin, he put up 16, and Matt Forte actually had a really big game with 21. But for me,
looks like he was really hurt by that Thursday night game with Moncrief.
Yeah, he was. He started in the hole, and then not to furthermore anything, but he had Andre Johnson on the bench who had 25 points, but who saw that coming? I don't think he scored over 6 points all season.
Well, and I think Josh started him every week but this week.
Yeah, and then he had Darren McFadden on the bench too. And I don't know why he's not starting Jay Cutler instead of Michael Vick. But, I should probably ask him that. And then really for me, Odell Beckham, Dwayne Harris and Shane Vereen, they gave me 56 points combined, and then Forsett gave me 27.
Yeah, you scored 166 points, and that's with getting only 4 points from your tight end and 2 points from your kicker.
Right, and Julian Thomas, I don't know if he's actually come back or if he's comfortable in the offense or what, or if he was just drawing more coverage than what everybody expected because Blake Royals had a heck of a game. I think he put up 33 or 39 points.
Yeah. Well, congrats on your victory. You were like 20 underdogs, and you won by 40.
Yeah, I mean, fortunate enough to get the victory. But man, there's no doubt about it that the Brewmasters and Vultures are in a league of their own right now. Honestly.
Yeah. So speaking of that, they are 1-2 right now. You can see the Brewmasters are 4-1. They're the only 4-1 team in the conference. That's Lynn. Lynn, who I had to twist his arm to join the league last year, is now texting me at all hours of the day and night, talking about fantasy football.
He's hooked.
Yeah.
Looks like we got a Chivette there. Hello.
Huh.
All right, that's Leo. Leo finally joined us. Brosh, I talked to him at the draft, and he said there's no way he's going to let himself finish in 10th place again. And here he is at second 5 weeks in. There's a lot of teams at 3-2, but certainly the class of the bunch is Brosh. Then you've got Steel Rain, managed by Fitzgerald, Green's Doughboys, and your Redlegs go 3, 4, and 5. Schuster, the Negligent Discharges, one of your rivals, is number 6. So that would be the last playoff spot if the season ended today.
Can I point out something interesting about Schuster's record?
Yeah.
You notice his point total?
660.
Points against.
Oh,
Isn't that amazing? He's still 3-2, so he's either getting killed or barely winning every game.
yeah. He's got more wins than losses, but he's been outscored by 36
16?
points.
Oh,
No,
you got
16. Yeah. That's
16.
bad lawyer math.
And then, you know what I would like to make a mention here real quick is watch out for the War Ponies. They're coming off of 3 straight wins.
Yeah.
And they're playing the Sawtooths this week, and the Sawtooths are claiming that they've had the roughest schedule. How a commissioner sets up a unfavorable schedule for himself, it'd be ridiculous. However, I wish there was some way we could look at strength of schedules to kind of really see where everybody's at in the pack. Because I played Steel Rain this
points
week.
against.
Yeah, I mean but I beat the Vultures last week, and that doesn't, that was only 110 points against my total.
Yeah. So the Sawtooths, based on strength of schedule, do have the toughest schedule.
Well, look how many points Rowe has scored. Look how many points Sawtooths have scored. They've outscored everybody that's ahead of them, except for the top 2 in the league.
Yeah. And Musselman, he's at 2-3, but he's got 760 points.
Right. So it's like either these guys are breaking out for, like Rowe, he's almost averaging 200 points in the last 2 weeks, or they're putting up 89 or 100 in weeks that they're losing.
Yeah, and so this means there's going to be a lot of fluctuation in these middle spots. Everybody's going to be fighting for those last 3 positions. I think there's only one team we can safely say is out of it.
Yeah, I feel bad for him, but not to rag on the guy. He made a gamble during the. He made a gamble in the draft, and he went with Sam Bradford, I believe, in the 2nd or 3rd round. And he actually stated, "I'm about to blow your minds," before he drafted. And I think everybody's mind was blown when he drafted Sam Bradford in the 2nd or 3rd round.
Peacock saying that is like someone saying, "Here, hold my beer."
It's not going to end well.
Yeah, to Peacock's credit, he at least knew it was going to be risky.
Yeah,
Not like he thought, oh, this is easy. So he's in last place, and second to last is Neely, the Hooligans.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like one week they kind of break out, and I think they're going to come back to the rest of the league, and the next week they get blown out again. So they're kind of back and forth.
Well, in the Hooligans' defense, they recovered nicely from the terrible draft that they had. If you remember some of the picks that he made, I think he took a kicker in the 4th round. I think he took Jordy Nelson in the 3rd or 5th round, something like that. and he's really had to fill some gaps because at the first of the year we were calling them the sick call Rangers. As many injured players he drafted.
Yeah, I mean, kind of as a pro tip, if you're at your draft and you look up and you see that nobody selected a player that you think should be a first-round pick,
Gotta do some
don't-
research.
yeah, just assume there's something wrong. Don't say, "Oh, looks like the rest of the league forgot about Jordy Nelson." So then you got Hillier right above him at 12th, and then Reed, the Sawtooth, which we mentioned has the toughest strength of schedule so far. Just above him at 10th is Rose, Rebel Alliance, who's won 2 straight after starting out 0-3, and they have the second most difficult schedule. So
And they play. I really just wish that in virtual reality that this game would somehow just kill each other this week.
yeah, so who do they play this week?
The Rebel Alliance play the Negligent Discharges.
Oh yeah, I guess the best
of my rivals.
here would be a tie.
Well, I don't know. I'd kind of rather have Rowe go to 3-2 and push Schuster back to 500, or 3-3 and Schuster go to 500, just to keep me in the middle of the pack with them.
Yeah, that's what you got to do when you're not at the top of the standings. Is kind of decide which.
The lesser of two evils.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at 2-3 in my conference, and there's some guys that I root for. I like underdog stories, but right now I just need everybody in my general vicinity to lose. So let's start out with that matchup. The suddenly resurgent Rebel Alliance going against the Negligent Discharges.
And maybe there was something to the trade that he made with me. Maybe I overlooked something, or maybe it was just getting that first win that kind of got his team in gear.
Yeah, I mean, once he got got a little taste of it.
I mean, he had a good draft. On the bus ride home, everybody's talking about how they liked his team.
Yeah, his quarterbacks didn't do him any favors. They weren't as good as I thought they'd be, but he's recovered nicely. I mean, Bortles it's not a big name, but he's done really well the last 2 weeks, and so I think he's okay there now. So he's projected for 138 points, which it's not a fantastic sum, but that's including like Keith Mumphrey in a flex spot. Hopefully he doesn't have to start that guy. But he's got Doug Martin, Eddie Royal, Nate Washington, LaShawn McCoy all on a bye. Devontae Adams is still injured. So when you've got those many guys on a bye and you're still projected for 138, that's pretty good. That's a testament to the depth of your roster. Schuster's got Tavon Austin, Amari Cooper on a bye. Tyrod Taylor is injured. Terrence West just really hasn't played.
He's got Dan Bailey and Marquise Colston on bye still too in his lineup.
Well, he needs to replace Bailey because he's on a bye. Marcus Colston is injured. He won't play, and he needs to do that tonight or tomorrow because Colston plays Thursday night. So,
honestly, if you're listening, one of the things that you might think about doing is if you want to hang on to Dan Bailey because he's a great fantasy kicker, get rid of Tyrod Taylor, quarterback, and pick up a kicker, and then start playing matchups when Aaron Rodgers goes on his bye week, and just go bye week after that.
Are you serious? Or do you just want Tyrod Taylor? You there?
Yeah. No, I don't have any interest in him. Can you see me?
Yeah. I would tell him to drop Terrence West, who hasn't played at all.
Right. Oh, the running back for. Yeah, I just read a deal today where they were going with a different running back in Tennessee, aren't they?
Yeah, they got Antonio Andrews going.
That's who it is.
So, let's say you add 10 points for a flex spot player, 10 points for a kicker. He's projected at 121. I think Rowe gets the win here and gets to 3-3.
Well, he also should probably start Vernon Davis. That's another 6 points. I mean, I think if he makes, I don't know, is Selleck better than Vernon Davis right now?
No, I think Vernon Davis was just injured, maybe.
He's questionable this week, so.
Yeah, I think he's been injured the last 2 games. So, if he plays, of course he'll play him. If not, he'll play that Garrett Selleck, who did have a touchdown last week.
Right.
But I mean, he's got Brian Hartline. That's not good.
You know, really, 10 points doesn't mean much in fantasy football. Because
No.
if somebody has a big game, then that 10 points goes away really quick.
Yeah. He really missed out on an opportunity when Tyrod Taylor had those 2 really good games. He could have tried to trade him to War Pony. But I don't know. What are you going to do? So your Redlegs are going up against Andy Dufresne in the Steel Rain.
I wonder if he's got a haircut yet.
Probably not. You're both 3-2. I think he's got quite a few more points than you.
He does.
This one going down.
Man, I never feel good about a matchup. I mean, last week I was just kind of just waiting for the week to be over so that I could start this week because I just thought Steven was going to come in and just wear me out. You know, the War Ponies beat Steel Rain last week, but like I said, War Ponies are on a 3-game win streak. And I don't know. He still has some slots to fill in the roster. Even if he does get 6 points or 7 points for a defense and a 6-point kicker, we're almost neck and neck.
Yeah, and he's got a couple guys on the bench that he's going to put in there that might take him over. Jarvis Landry, I'm assuming, is on the bench because he had a bye last week. I don't know if he needs to trust C.J. Anderson. He might actually stay on the bench. He's gotten 3, 8, and 6 points the last 3 weeks. He's starting Crowell in his place, and Crowell has gotten 15 and 16 points the last 2 weeks.
Well, he also has Landry on the bench. So,
yeah.
Did you say that already?
Yeah, but I mean, Landry is a heck of a player. He's got 24, 20, 18, and 20 points this year.
Right.
So, he's got a pretty deep team. Of course, Devontae Freeman. When you have Devontae Freeman and he breaks out like he has, you can afford to whiff on your first-round pick like it did with C.J. Anderson.
Right.
So, are you going to trust Martavis Bryant this week against Arizona?
No, I'm kind of wait till towards the end. I think I'm going to stick with Mike Wallace. He's going to be rested this week. And, I just think I don't know because do I go with Bryant or do I try Deshaun Jackson, who's questionable, who's been out since week 1?
I'd rather trust a guy coming back from suspension than a guy coming back from injury.
Yeah. Well,
have you looked at these rosters much?
No, not really. Not in this league. Doing a quick glance, though, I'm always here lately. I've been kind of out on if I was a Matt Stafford owner. And then who is this? Is Fitzgerald's team, right? Stafford.
Yeah.
Man, that's kind of. Does he have a lot of people on bye week?
No, not really. I mean, no. Actually, he only has 2 people on bye week.
And that's his kicker and defense.
Yeah, and he's short on the bench. He's a player short.
Yeah, he is, man.
And interestingly enough, he's only made 2 moves the whole season, and so I don't know. I mean, he'll have to make a move this week.
Carol, at what point do you bench Stafford and put in Mariota?
Well, I mean, Miami's defense isn't bad, they're not the complete reason why they're losing.
Well, I mean, but they
Chicago's
actually are bad. They shouldn't be, but they have been.
right. And Chicago's defense is terrible.
Yeah, real terrible.
But they held Kansas City to 18 or 17 points last week. So
If Stafford can't put up 20 points on that Chicago passing defense, then I think it's time to move on.
Yeah,
I think so too.
I would agree there.
So
No more.
I'm gonna I'm gonna pick Fitzgerald to pull this out, but it wouldn't shock me if Stafford got 8 points and the Redlegs pulled out a victory.
I'm going to pick the Redlegs in this. To me, it looks like they have a more consistent core of players. Just like you said, I mean, Stafford could go out there and lay 8. Tyler Lockett could go out there and get 2. Up and get 0. I mean,
Roddy White could get another 0-point game.
yeah.
I mean, he's already had 2 of those.
I want to say last week that Steel Rain put up 101 points or something like that, 102 points. But I think anything is possible in this game. It's one of those that, like I said, once he fixes the lineup, if they're within 10 points, I don't even like to guess on it because it could go either way.
Yeah. Well, next we've got Sawtooth, which is Nick Reed's team, going up against Wood Pony, which is Venable's team. Venable is the 24th champion. He has not exactly been blown up the waiver wire. He's not making moves, but he's at 3-2. So if he would just get with it and start managing his team, he could probably make the playoffs still. I mean, he'll get Des Bryant back later. And he's got Alex Smith at quarterback against Minnesota, who could easily put up, 8 points or 28 points.
Yeah, man. Nick's made some changes since I wrote my weekly update. I believe he has, anyways, because that gap shortened quite a bit. It's an 8-point favorite now, according to Yahoo. Is that what you said opening up? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay, so Venable's an 8-point favorite going into this week, and I don't know, man. I don't know if his draft picks are finally starting to work for him, or exactly what's going on, but his team is kick out right now, and they're doing really well.
Yeah, his constant weak spot is going to be that second running back position. And, I mean, really his first running back position is weak, but at least you know what you're getting in Rashad Jennings. His second one was Joique Bell. He's been injured, and when he's not been injured, he's been ineffective. And then he's got, Boobie Dixon, who's, filling in Buffalo for a week, maybe 2.
Right.
So once he's done in Buffalo, he's either got to put in Joique Bell, whose best game so far is 7 points, or he's got to get active on the waiver wire, or maybe trade one of his 10 receivers and pick up a running back.
Surprisingly enough, he hasn't really responded to anybody's messages or text or in the message boards or anything like that. So
he told me that
it's kind of surprising.
He figured out the Yahoo app. Which, I mean, come on, man. You're a sergeant major in the United States military. I'm sure you can figure it out. So he's playing Reed, like we said. Reed has got Thomas Rawls in at running back right now, but I think Lynch will be back this week. So he might have to put Ronnie Hillman in. I don't think that would be terrible. Cleveland's got a terrible run defense, and he's coming in an 8-point underdog, but I'm going to pick Reed to win this thing behind surprisingly good game from Kamar Aiken and Hillman doing well against Cleveland once he puts him in the lineup.
Hey, would you take a shot with Andy Dalton against Buffalo, or would you stick with Andrew Luck, who's coming off an injury against New England?
I'd go with Dalton.
That's what
I noticed that whenever I saw his lineup or the bench, I would definitely be all over Andy Dalton.
Yeah, and Buffalo's a good defense. I mean, it's a great defense. You don't really want to go up against it, but how can you have any faith in Luck right now?
Especially, I mean, he's struggled all season, and he was getting hit a lot. I mean, it's not all on him.
Yeah, but it's a lot on him. But, it really doesn't matter. For fantasy purposes, he's just not been nearly as good as Dalton. Of course, Reed, a lot of this depends on whether Julio Jones plays or plays at full strength on Thursday. If Jones is limited on Thursday, then that could really sink the whole ship. Two of the 2 and 3 squads is the Hooligans, which is Neely, going up against Musselman's Mutinous Apes. We've talked about how Musselman has, I think, the second or third most difficult schedule. He scored quite a bit of points, had some bad luck. But he's 2 and 3, and he's going up against Neely, who we all agree is lucky to be 2 and 3 right now. How do you see this one going down, Zerger?
I think Musselman's going to win this one. He always has a player or two that has huge breakouts. Even though he's a 5-point underdog right now, I still think that he gets it done. It's interesting because, you have Tom Brady starting against Indianapolis defense, and then Mark Ingram against the Atlanta defense. I don't think those points are going to be all there. And Eddie Lacy hasn't really produced anything this season.
No, and I think the San Diego run defense is
they held
essentially the fifth
worst to 80.
They're pretty bad against the run, so this might be his breakout game.
Well, they held Bell to 87, if I remember right.
Yeah, but they couldn't keep him from getting that last yard.
That's true.
Last few inches.
Really, their lineups are pretty much set, other than maybe switching a quarterback, because they have a lot of people on bye. And it's interesting that Neely is carrying 3 quarterbacks. I don't know if anybody else finds that interesting.
We've talked about that since the first podcast.
And he needs to take Douglas out and probably put in Alshon Jeffrey. If he does that, then I think he wins this game easily.
Yeah, if Jeffrey's healthy and plays, I think you're right. I don't know why he has 3 quarterbacks. I don't know why he has Joe Flacco in particular. But
he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he's an elite quarterback. This is definitely a winnable game for Neely. If he does win this game, that puts him at 3 and 3. Maybe we can talk him into trading one of those quarterbacks away. Maybe he can upgrade something else. And then once you're back at 500, I mean, it's like a whole new season almost. Conversely, Musselman, I wouldn't be surprised if he got to 3 and 3. And then last year he won his last 4 games, so who knows? You may not be able to count them out. But knowing the guys like I do, I think both of them are going to be just good enough to have a shot at the playoffs, but they're not going to make enough moves in season to really make them a contender.
I think whoever loses this game, they're going to have a tough chance making the playoffs.
Yeah, it's looking kind of like an elimination game.
And anything can happen, but when you're 2 and 3, you can't fall to 2 and 4 with 8 weeks left to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because playoffs start week 15.
Well, and speaking of playoffs, the number 1 team and the number 4 team play this week, and they both look like they're set for the playoffs. Lynn's Brewmasters are 4-1. They got like 43 points from Josh McCown last week. Uh, I guess he's going to play McCown over Tannehill. I'm a Tannehill owner. I have zero faith in Tannehill, but I can't trust McCown against the Denver defense.
I don't know what he's doing here. Last week he picked up McCowan, I believe, and played him and got 40 points out of him, which was amazing, you know. But,
yeah, I'd say the weak spot of his team right now is running back. He's got Duke Johnson and Theo Riddick starting. But that's because Latavius Murray and Charles Sims are on a bye. CJ Spiller just has not played well.
No. Of course, they've been behind so much that they're not running the ball very much anyways.
Yeah, I really hadn't noticed until now how weak his running backs are, but it's working for him. So.
Well, it's covered up by Julio Jones, Antonio Brown,
that's James
Edelman, Antonio Gates.
Yeah.
Amendola. You know, I mean, all that's covered up.
Yeah, and then he's got Brandon LaFell waiting in the wings when he comes back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he made a conscious decision to kind of ignore running back and get the best supporting cast he could get.
Well, that Antonio Brown move paid off for him first round of the draft. That really did.
Yeah, although the last 2 weeks have not been that great with Vic at the helm, but it'll pay off in the end.
Come playoff time, when Big Ben's back, it'll pay off.
Yeah, so he's going against Green, and the Doughboys just lost Jamal Charles to a torn ACL, but they had the strongest group of running backs in the league. They got
Agreed.
Amir Abdullah, Frank Gore, Jonathan Stewart, Todd Gurley, and Tevin Coleman, and they picked up Niall Davis. So if anybody can afford to lose a running back, it's him.
You know, and I don't even know if Niall Davis is going to get. From what I've been reading, he's not going to get most of them. I think it's West that actually moved up in the depth chart, but I think Niall Davis will still be used in the goal line.
Yeah, I think you're right. And he's starting Gary Barnidge at tight end and Willie Snead at receiver. I mean, this is a example of a guy that's active on the waiver wire. He's paying attention to the trends because, I mean, before the season, nobody would have thought Travis Benjamin, Ty Montgomery, Gary Barnidge, and Willie Snead would be on one of the best teams in the league.
He's made the third most moves in the league.
Yeah, so he's definitely paying attention, and he's an underdog right now. But
I like him in this one. I think he wins.
Yeah, I think that Lynn falls to 4-2, and then we'll hear him whine in the rest of the week.
If he goes to 4-2, I mean, we could end up in another 4-way tie like we were last week before some people got knocked off.
Yeah. The next one, I don't think we have to spend much time on it. It's the Vultures, which is probably the best team in the league, going against the absolute worst team in the league in the Cox. So let's just call that one a win for Brosh.
I don't even know where to begin. If I could even help the Cox out, maybe they try to trade to Sam Bradford and get somebody else.
Yeah, I think that's the first thing to help the Cox is to just be present.
Well, he's active in the message boards actually, but as far as let me pull up how many moves he's made real quick.
Yeah.
0.
Well, I'm going to go get some more beer if you guys just want to continue talking about Hillier and the warm bodies.
Okay. So Hillier, who plays second in the league, has got off to a slow start this year. He's 2-3, and he's going to take on Nye, who is 3-2, and that's an interesting matchup in itself because the Hillier still has some holes to plug, if I remember right. No, he still has.
No, he does. Yeah, he's got Aguilar he needs to fill. I don't know what his other receivers look like.
He has Marshawn Lynch. So
Okay, so he'll probably plug him in for
Jones, I was guessing,
Jones.
and then maybe tight end. He has a tight end on the bench that he could.
Who's on the bench?
Hill is the only thing that he can move up to fill that wide receiver spot. He also has Chris Ivory, which is interesting. I don't know who you go with over. Surely Melvin Gordon sits and Ivory comes in too.
Gordon's going up against Green Bay. Yeah.
And then so Ivory's going up against Washington, which Peoples had success running the ball against Washington this year.
Yeah, he makes those moves. He might jump up.
Yeah, I don't really know who's going to win this one. I just know it's important for Hillier to win this one. Kind of same situation we talked about before is, being one under 500 this early is fine, but you don't want to drop to more than one.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at Nye's team, on paper it looks pretty solid. He's got a few weak spots at receiver 2 and 3. I would probably move Hearns out of the flex up to a 2 and maybe look at putting something else there in the flex.
See, and I don't want to knock him, but here we go with another guy that has 3 quarterbacks on his team and 2 defenses.
I don't know. I don't know if it's just something that we do. But I've noticed just by looking at other friends who have PPR leagues do the same thing. They'll carry 2 quarterbacks, 2 receivers, 2 defenses and 2 kickers. And I look at them and I'm like, why are you doing that? And they say, well, this quarterback is going to be on a bye. It's like, okay, well, that quarterback's already had his bye, so why still hold on to that backup?
Right.
And then try to explain to them how their point system isn't, your kicker's not going to, go and have a monster game like an extra wide receiver that you could have picked up in, the 7th round would do.
Right.
Well, think about it. Real football teams don't have a backup kicker.
Or a backup defense, for that matter.
Because kickers are so readily available, and they change them like they change underwear if they're, the single hint that they're turning south.
Yeah, I don't understand. There's some kickers like Gostkowski. You don't want to drop Gostkowski, so you carry 2 kickers for 1 week, then you drop that other one, you move on with 1 kicker.
Right.
The Denver defense this year, I think you can keep them for 1 week when they're on a bye. But,
and I think the same could have been said for the Jets. I should have kept them. I thought I'd be able to pick them up off a waiver. I couldn't.
Yeah. Last year in a league, I had a good strategy that worked for me in a different league. Sorry that I was cheating on the oil, but I did with my defense. I think I picked up whoever was playing Cleveland. Every week I had a different defense, and it was whoever was playing Cleveland.
That's a pretty good deal if you can work it.
Yeah, luckily, it was with like a 10-team league who, wasn't as into it as we are. So obviously that would not work here.
Speaking of cheating on the oil, I feel like it's time that Leo has to explain himself. For those that don't know, let me switch on over to the NFC.
Lil, I can't believe you.
Here's the thing.
You know what, though? You are a supply guy, so I don't
Okay,
really know what I was thinking.
So Leo, he was going to trade an injured LaShawn McCoy, and a guy named Jeremy Curley to Morgan for the number 3 overall receiver Julian Edelman and Eddie Lacy.
You never know until you ask.
You know what they call this in the legal world, Leo? Unjust enrichment.
It's like I said, you never know until you ask.
Y'all are rivals.
You know, it's
I
like
have actively perpetrated a fraud on someone, but you knew you weren't entitled to that, but yet you took it.
look, it's immoral to let a sucker keep his money.
Well,
Y'all are
If
rivals.
someone will do it. Let them do it.
What'd you do for Morgan to be able to have that?
I'll tell you why we can't let this one go through, because I text Morgan and said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Just trying to help a buddy out." So, as you can see, Morgan is in 13th place. Leo is in 2nd place. Morgan has given up on the season, apparently, and was going to give Leo his best players.
Wow.
That does a disservice to everybody else, and it will not be tolerated.
J.D. McCoy was a top running back in the draft.
I mean, just because he was a top pick doesn't mean he still got that value. If you would have traded McCoy for Lacy straight up, you can make a plausible argument for that because Lacy's been disappointing.
So
I'm glad you're on camera right now because everybody can see what a cheater's smile looks like, and I see it right here.
I sent him another trade.
So, I think any trade y'all two have together should be automatically invalid now.
Yeah, they're all going to be looked at with suspicion.
I think you should lose a draft pick or draft pick order.
Well, we can't impose fines in the OL, but we can't
And look,
publicly shame you.
the Wildcats aren't the only team that I've been trying to trade with. I've sent trade. I sent a trade today to Pyle. I tried to help Yancey out and send him a steady points earner in Bortles for I think I was looking at someone on his bench
Bortles isn't picked up in most leagues either, so.
I think I was going to give him Bortles for Grant straight up, and he, ignored that. I don't even think he gave me a counter on that one. So
he should have done that one.
So
he's actually the number 7 quarterback right now.
Right.
Yeah, I had him for the week. I picked him up for the week 4 bye that Tom Brady had, and then after that, I just had plans of just using him to trade with. And to me, looking at everyone's quarterback situation, the Roughnecks had the most unstable quarterbacks on their roster. So
yeah, he's got Bradford and Kaepernick, and that's just, man, that's like a disaster waiting to happen. Well, switching back or just delving into the NFC non-bullshit trade edition, we'll get to what's going on. So, like we said, Leo is number 2 right now. Congratulations, Leo, 4-1. The number 1 team is Bruce Sooner Jack, also at 4-1.
I would also like to point out real quick that number 1 and number 2 share the same hometown.
What's that?
True.
Norman. We're both located in Norman.
So
Yeah,
y'all both lost last weekend?
So hopefully
Norman is not your hometown.
so the Sooners may not bring a championship home this year, but hopefully me or Jackie can.
Did anybody check on Kevin Pyle to make sure he's still alive after that OU Texas game?
Who?
Kevin Pyle?
Yeah, he was texting me today, so I know that he's still alive.
Yeah, he texted me too after I sent that Lieutenant Dan picture with.
Yeah, well, I'd like to point out that Leo has the easiest schedule in the league so far.
He does.
592 points against. I wish Duffy were here so that he could feel a little bit of vindication. He's got the most difficult schedule at 819 points. So over 200 more points, over 200 more points have been scored against Duffy than Leal. And Duffy does have fewer points than Leal, so...
Hey guys, I got to help get my kids in bed and stuff.
All right, man. Thanks for coming.
Well, thanks for having me. I'll be on nights starting next week, so I probably won't be on for a while.
All right.
But I'll still do the weekly update every Tuesday and stuff like that. So.
All right.
All right. Well, it's good seeing y'all.
Later.
You too. See ya.
Have a safe week. See ya.
Can we talk about him now? Okay, so you admittedly have the easiest schedule in the league, but to your credit, it's not like, you've scored 593 and you're just barely getting there.
Yeah, I've kind of, there's at least 2 wins that turned out to be wins that I would have, I'd already ruled out, I'm going to lose that game.
Yeah, so you've got 711 points. That puts you almost 100 behind Bruges. Bruges' team has really been surprising, considering their first-round pick of DeMarco Murray has been awful. But the best team in the league is the Ammo Dogs. They're third because they're at 3-2. They've got 875 points. And then you've got Pyle, who is one of the favorites to win it, at 813 points. Significantly lower than them in points. You've got other 3-2 teams. Henderson, who just lost Jamal Charles. Trevillo with the Dirty Hippies. Finch's Hard Targets, which, by the way, Finch was bitching at me just 3 weeks ago. He texted me and said, "Your team sucks, both of them," meaning my team and the team that I drafted for him. And then he's won 3 games in a row. So he's 3-2. I'd like a little bit of credit that I wasn't as bad as he said I was. Then you've got Yancey's Roughnecks. He's the final 3-2 team. And then you got the 2-3 squads. I am number 9. I'm the best of the 2 and 3. Then
with 31 moves.
Yeah. I might be on pace to break the all-time record of 82. Schmidt is number 10. Then you got Jessen, number 11. I know he's pissed off. He's lost 3 in a row. You got the Hangovers. Like I said, Duffy by far has the most difficult schedule. But he's also not exactly blowing it up in the points department. He's got 674. You've got your partner in crime, Morgan, at number 13.
So, if you look at the points he has and the points against, if that's what he told, if that's what you got, that he's kind of given up on his team, it looks like you put a little bit of effort into that, and you might pull something else out.
Yeah, there's still hope here. If nothing else, play for pride. He could easily pull out a winning season here. Maybe he gets it up to 7-6 and he doesn't make the playoffs, but he can say, "I started out 1-4 and I ended with a winning season."
Because I think we talked about this last week. At what point do you kind of cut your loss with Victor Cruz? He's got, unfortunately, Brian Hartline for him hasn't produced like he has in the past. But, he's got some stuff to work with.
Yeah, it's not like he's got Cobb's team. Okay, so you have the easiest schedule so far by a good margin, and you've had 592 points scored against you. Cobb has only scored 545 points himself. That's really bad. And you just beat him this week, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, he had some bye week issues, and then he thought Marshawn Lynch was going to play, and he didn't. And Yeah, he seems like another one that is not going to be giving it his all. Although he has made 8 moves, so he's trying. But I think we can scratch them off the list of contenders for this season. Getting back up to the matchups, the game of the week, at least in my mind, I mean, it's my team, is my Arrogant Americans versus Rogers Ammo Dogs. The Ammo Dogs are 3rd in the league, but they have the most points. And I'm 2-3. If I can win this thing and get to 3-3, I'll be ecstatic because I started out 1-3. And I think I can do it. He's projected for 152 points, which is 10 more than me. But he's got Matthew Stafford at quarterback, and like I said, he could go out there and put up 8 points, 9 points.
That's very true.
Brown against a very good Arizona secondary with Michael Vick throwing the ball.
Yeah, I think one thing that I would be looking at though is Jeremy Maclin with Kansas City might lean on their receiving game since Charles is out a little bit more.
Yeah.
I see that you did pick up Steady Eddie Broyles that I dropped.
Yeah.
Because no one would trade with me because Yancey wouldn't trade with me. So I think that's a good pickup. I'm telling you, that guy is like, he's not going to go and blow it up like Tom Brady, but he's going to get you steady points.
Well, from week 2 on, he scored 28, 22, 24, and 39. I feel pretty good about that. He's got Houston this week, and their defense has been horrible. Then he does have a difficult one at Buffalo, then a bye week, and then a difficult game against the Jets. But after that, it's pretty smooth sailing.
Yeah.
So he might replace Tannehill as my every week starter. All that being said, I'm still hurting at wide receiver 3. I gave up my 3rd receiver in the Gronkowski trade. Last week it worked out because Marcus Wilson got 20 points filling in for Jeffrey and Royal. We don't know if one or both of those guys will be back this week with the Bears, and so he may go back to being irrelevant.
Yeah.
Until LaFell comes off the PUP list, that wide receiver 3 spot for me is going to be a rotating pile of crap. I'm just hoping I can get enough out of it that it doesn't make me lose the game.
Yeah, just as long. I mean, sitting at 2-3, waiting on him to come off that list. If you can just make it by with, I guess, kind of like the Cowboys mentality, just get us a few wins.
Yeah. If I can get to 3-3, I mean, like I said, it's like a new season then.
Yeah.
Myself a really deep hole at 1-3. I made a bold move in trading for Gronkowski, and I knew that would probably make me lose that week because I gave up 2 starters for a guy that was on a bye. So I really hope I can come back and make the playoffs. If I miss the playoffs by 1 game, I'm going to be pissed. But without this trade, I probably wouldn't be as good. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, with this one right here.
Let me tell you how shitty fantasy football can make you. I drafted Larry Donnell, and he wasn't getting all the targets because they were playing 2 tight ends, him and Daniel Fells. And it seemed like Daniel Fells was getting more of the red zone work beginning of the season. So I went away from Donnell, and then I heard that Fells was going to be inactive, so I got happy because I thought, all right, now Donnell's going to get all the targets. And it turns out that Fells has really bad MRSA infection where they may have to amputate his foot.
Holy shit.
Yeah, like they're saying his career is probably over due to this horrible, horrible MRSA infection. So
wow.
Felt pretty bad about being happy that he was not going to play. But, it's not my fault.
Just business.
Yeah, strictly business. Antonio Andrews is not a world beater, but I'm hoping he can just, trip into the end zone for 1 touchdown. I'm not super confident, but I'm feeling better. I think we can win this game. If we don't, it's not the end of the world, though. Our schedule gets easier.
Yeah, and one thing there, I think if your guys perform, maybe not necessarily up to what they're projected, but at least get close. Matthew Stafford lays an egg like he's capable of doing. I think you could pull that one out.
Yeah, I mean, Randall Cobb has been disappointing, but as soon as I get frustrated with him, he'll have 2 touchdowns. Cooks has not been what we thought he'd be, but he did score a touchdown last week. And they're playing the Falcons this week. It's the biggest rival. It's in the Superdome, so maybe they'll come out and be pretty aggressive. I don't know. I've got Doug Martin on a bye. I never thought that I would be really upset about that, but he's been tremendous for me. And still got Devin Funchess on the bench, hoping that maybe one day he actually plays. So next we've got Pyle going against the Whackers, and as soon as we talk about how the Whackers are probably still in this, I see they're going up against Pyle, and I think they're probably going to fall to 1-5.
So one thing with the Whackers is their quarterback situation, because they have Drew Brees, and then who does he have on the bench?
Derek Carr.
Right, Derek Carr, that's right. Because Brees has not, with the exception of last week, I believe, has really not lived up to any expectations. Let me look here, fantasy-wise.
No, the offensive line has been bad, and the receivers have not been doing him any favors either.
Yeah, so week 2 and 3.
As it turns out, if you take away a player like Jimmy Graham, it actually hurts the quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the Eddie Lacy, Julian Edelman, the Eddie Royal. I wonder if he knows that that's.
Well, I think Eddie Royal is going to be back this week.
Okay.
And I sure hope he's not.
Do you have anyone for the other Selleck?
Yeah, let's see. Witten is his normal tight end, so Witten's on a bye.
Okay, so he might have picked up Selleck as a Band-Aid or something.
Yeah, but that's only going to work if Vernon Davis is still out. But, we look at this team and we know that they're 1-4. But, Julian Edelman is the number 3 receiver overall. Rashard Matthews has actually been really good. You got a big name in Eddie Lacy. Jay Spiller has the capability to be a great PPR running back. Chris Johnson, risen from the dead here and has gotten 80, 90 yards every week. With Darren Sproles on the bench, he's got Eddie Lacy handcuffed with Starks. I could talk myself into liking this team, but I also know that it's 1-4. So.
And who knows? It might be 1-4 just simply because the mismanagement.
Yeah, but 1-5 looks like a very distinct possibility because I think Pyle has the deepest and most balanced roster in the league.
He does. He's got Andy Dalton. He's got Beckham Jr. He's got Robinson, Bernard, Foster, Antonio Gates. I watched him play last week, and that old man still got some pep in his step.
Yeah, and Pyle is another guy that's always going to be on the waiver wire picking up the next big thing. He's got Willie Snead in a flex spot, Allen Robinson as a receiver, and he knows the value of Danny Woodhead in our scoring system, so he was sure to pick him up.
Yeah.
But then you look at his bench, and Martavis Bryant, when he does come back, he could be fantastic. Crockett Gilmore has been a really great tight end. Tyler Lockett has shown a lot of promise, but mostly just in the return game. He's got Phillip Rivers and Tony Romo. We don't recommend having 3 quarterbacks on the roster, but those 2 plus Dalton, I can understand how you don't really know who you want to get rid of.
Yeah.
And he handcuffed Forsett with Javorius Allen after the news came out that Lorenzo Taliaferro was put on IR. And he's probably got the starting running back in Kansas City now in Jarkander West.
Yeah, and the Allen ad he beat me to that because I noticed that, and I was out on a location, and I didn't have time to really go and look whenever I found out Taliaferro was out. And, yeah, so he beat me to that one because that was one that I was wanting to go and get.
Yeah. Well, like we said, it's probably the deepest and most balanced roster. I'm definitely picking him to win this.
Yeah, I got him too.
He's got Andy Dalton going up against the Buffalo defense, and he's got Buffalo. So if Dalton throws a few picks, it's kind of going to be negated. Not that that'll be the difference, but that might help him a little bit.
Well, it's a good safety net to have.
Yeah. Jessen, bless his little heart, has had horrible luck. His first-round pick was C.J. Anderson.
Horrible luck, no pun intended.
Yeah, his second-round pick was Andrew Luck. And then on top of that, Andre Johnson and Anquan Bolden have not played well. It looked like Carlos Hyde was going to be amazing after that first week, but he's not really done anything. But that being said, he has clawed his way to 2 victories, so now he's 2-3. It looks like things are starting to kind of work in his favor. Let's see who he's got on the bench here. I think he's still trying to trade Mariota. I think that ship has sailed. He's not going to get enough for him at this point. But, you look at his bench and you see why, he's 2-3 and not doing real well, and Pyle is one of the favorites in the league. His bench, aside from Terrence Williams on a bye, and nobody worth putting in your lineup, and I'd argue Terrence Williams really isn't worth putting in your lineup either.
Jeez, yeah. Hopefully that'll change because the Cowboys are going to change their quarterback.
I think it's interesting that Jessen is projected to score 140 points this week, and he's only 2-3 on the year.
Yeah, well, the stat guys are assuming that C.J. Anderson rebounds and does well against Cleveland, which is very possible because Cleveland's rush defense is horrible.
Right.
But, you see that 140 and you think that seems like too much. But looking at the projections for the individual players, outside of Luck, I really don't think that any of them are crazy. I mean, it's like 11, 10, 12, 15, 13, 12, 10, 11. Those are all very doable.
Does Luck generally play good against New England? Is that what they're going off of?
I think it's probably a combination of he's played well against them, but also New England's probably going to score at will, and the Colts will be throwing the ball to play catch-up all game.
Yeah.
So he's going against Henderson, the Dark Narcs, who just lost Jamal Charles. Let's see this. Yeah, he dropped Charles. He's now got Niall Davis. Like we said, that may not be the right guy. He's still got Devontae Freeman and Mark Ingram, along with David Johnson at running back. So Man, it seems like all the Jamal Charles owners actually had pretty good depth at that position.
Yeah.
But he's starting Marvin Jones and Mohamed Sanu at receiver. That's not ideal. But he's got Amari Cooper, Kenny Britt, and Mike Evans on a bye. So, I mean, he can't really help that. And Charles Johnson is on his bench, but he hasn't done anything, and he's been injured. Travis Kelce has not been that great at tight end, but they might lean on him more with Charles being out. Old man Malcolm Floyd has done decently well. He's got to replace his kicker. I think that Jessen does win this, and he gets to 3-3. But that being said, I don't think that the loss of Jamal Charles is going to be nearly as bad as we thought it would be for Henderson over the course of the season.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, if this is the week that you're going to play Henderson, this is a good week to do it. Because of the depth of receiver, his running backs are good. If I lost Henderson or Charles and I had these running backs, I wouldn't be. Yeah, it hurts, but I wouldn't write off the season. I got Jessen winning this one because, like I said, this is a good week to play Henderson.
Yeah.
Good old Henderson.
Next, got my main rival, the Hangovers, and a guy that's been a thorn in my side several times is Cobb. Cobb beat me by 0.3 in the regular season in 2013, and then he beat me by. He's had his best games against me. We've had one game decided by 0.3, one game decided by 0.25, but I don't think that'll be happening this year. The Hangovers, like we said, they're 1-4, but they've had the most difficult strength of schedule. Cobb is like the NFC's Peacock. So, yeah, Duffy wins this, and we move on.
Hey, I got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Do you like Ryan Wilson against Carolina, or would you rather watch Flacco against San Francisco defense who got tore up last week and has not tore up most weeks?
Did you say Ryan Wilson?
Yeah, Russell Wilson. I'm sorry.
Is Ryan Wilson a baseball player I don't know about?
No.
Let's see.
That's his twin brother. That's Russell's twin brother.
I think you have a point. Let's see. Russell Wilson has gotten.
That's Wilson on cable.
He's gotten 19, 28, 20, 20, and 16. That's what Flacco's done. Flacco 29, 28, 11 in that dogfight in Pittsburgh, and then 28 against Cleveland. I think you make a good point. This is one of those times where I'd feel better starting Flacco.
Oh,
Yeah,
too.
that's a good point. That's a good observation because a lot of that, that little nuance there would probably go unnoticed.
Yeah, and so he's starting him at quarterback. And Cobb has a history of having Flacco. I think he's probably had him like 3 of the last 4 years or something.
So here's one thing to notice: with Cobb, if you have an extra receiver to give up, and so this is something I might do because I'm kind of weak at running back with Shady McCoy taking his time getting healthy, is he doesn't have another receiver to start on his bench.
Yeah, he's going to have to get one off the waiver wire, and that can't be good.
I'm about to send him a trade.
Yeah, although, I guess he's got Lynch, Morris, and Blunt, but, I wouldn't want Morris, and I'm not sure I'd want to give up what he wants for Lynch.
He's going to have to take out Morris and put Lynch in, or I don't know, maybe go with Ryan Matthews at running back instead of Morris, because Washington, they're running
Yeah.
They're going up against New York Jets, and they're still running 3 running backs.
Yeah, the last 3 weeks he's gotten 1, 8, and 1.
Right.
Not good. So moving on to the 2014 champion Dirty Hippies against Dead Again, which is Schmidt. The Hippies, man, they had a bad draft. They couldn't get logged in time, and they didn't want Jimmy Graham in the third. They didn't want Aaron Rodgers in the second. But he's made do with what he's had. He's picked up Jamison Crowder and Jacob Tamme, and he's pulled together a 3-2 record so far. Who's he got on bye this week?
Hey, can I point out something that might be interesting?
Yeah.
Andy Reid said that DeAnthony Thomas is there's nothing that's keeping him from playing running back now. That they lost Jamal Charles.
Yeah, that could be. He could be like their Lance Dunbar.
Right, and he helps out the roster so much. I mean, he's on the bench right now. He already has them. But when people start getting hurt and buys and stuff, he can play running back or a wide receiver or a flex in 2 different flex spots.
Yeah. I think Trevillo's team is deeper than we'd give it credit for at first glance. And he's going against Schmidt, who has really had poor luck. Schmidt drafted Gronkowski, but he had horrible receiver depth. I traded him Jordan Reed, who was a number 3 or number 4 tight end at the time, and Steve Smith, who was a number 3 receiver. For Gronkowski, it wasn't exactly equal value, but it did help him out until the very next week they both got injured. So I really dodged a bullet there. And then he's got Roddy White. His other tight end was Eric Ebron, who got injured. Tevin Coleman looked like a great pickup in the draft, and then he got injured, and Devontae Freeman came in and blew up. Dante Moncrief is not done like we thought he'd do. Marcus Colston is injured. This is just not Schmidt's year. I mean, Big Ben got injured early. I don't think any year is going to be Schmidt's year, but definitely not this year. I mean, and Leo, you've been in the league, since the beginning like him. He's never really a threat, but he's usually pretty decent.
Yeah.
So, finally getting to your matchup, Leo. Like you said, you're 4-1, and you're going up against Yancey and the Roughnecks. You are projected to win this one right now, but Yancey doesn't have a quarterback in there. How do you feel about your matchup this week?
Well, not good. Mainly because, like I said, my running back situation with McCoy taking so long to heal back up, and then Taliaferro having his injury, because I was really leaning on Taliaferro while Shady McCoy was out, really put me in a little hurt spot. So now I've got Theo Riddick and Amir Abdullah. I've got a weak wide receiver 3 in Robert Woods, mainly because I've got Crabtree and Tavon Austin on bye weeks, which I expected that to happen. But I also have those 2 guys would be in there in replace of Robert Woods and the flex position where Dexter McCluster is now as well. So all that, depending on who Yancey, I don't know if he's just slow playing, trying to hide his hand at who he's going to start. If it was me, I would go with Bradford. Yeah, probably go with Bradford. Should have taken the trade that I proposed to him. But like he picked up McCowan, so he's got 3 quarterbacks right now.
Yeah. He's another guy that his team doesn't look great for today, but for the rest of the year, he's built where he can make a run. On his bench right now, he's got Todd Gurley on a bye, Joseph Randall on a bye, Kyle Rudolph, Dez Bryant. I mean, you put all those guys up in the starting lineup, and it's suddenly a really good-looking team. His receivers probably didn't look that impressive at the beginning of the season, but, I mean, you put Dez Bryant in there. You've got Dez Bryant, James Jones, Keenan Allen, and Jarvis Landry.
Yeah. I think I have a possibility of winning this. This is one of those that since the Talaferro thing happened, this would be one that I would not be shocked if I lost. But again, with the way that Tom Brady's been playing, and
and they're probably just going to stomp the Colts. They're going to go out there and make a statement because the Colts are the ones that
they ratted on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people call that.
I want Brady to come out wearing a shirt that says "Snitches get stitches."
So a funny story about that. I'm not going to mention any names, but I could. You wouldn't know them anyway. So a lot of my family, I would say 90% of my family lives in the Houston area, and I have a cousin who I haven't seen in quite a while, and my aunt got married a few months ago up here in Oklahoma in Duncan, and she came up, and I'd always, because this is a funny thing, I've always told my wife, hey, I seriously have some like Vato relatives that you don't even know. Like, you look at me and you look at them and you're like, no, they're not related. She had a tattoo on her arm and it said, "Snitches get stitches."
Wow. How old is she? She's your aunt?
No, this was my cousin.
Oh,
who,
okay.
Maybe 2 years younger than I am.
Wow. What, did it look good at least?
No.
Because you could have done that where like it looks like that was stitched into the arm. I don't know.
No, it probably took place in someone's living room.
Oh, it's that kind of tattoo.
Yeah.
Remember when tattooing was illegal in Oklahoma?
Oh yeah.
I remember going. I was like in 8th grade, maybe getting close to 9th grade. I'd go to this girl's house because she had really terrible parents that didn't mind if we drank or maybe sometimes smoked pot. Like when you're a kid, like you have that friend that you don't even like them, but their parents are so bad that you can do whatever you want over there.
Oh yeah.
So we'd go over there, and it was like me and my 9th grade friend and this 8th grade girl, and then her 30-something uncles. And they'd always at some point pull out their homemade tattoo gun and be like, "You want a tattoo?" I always politely declined, but my buddy was always like, "Oh yeah, give me whatever." And they just point to it and tell them what they want, and they just sitting there, they're half drunk, they've been smoking weed, and they're freehanding some intricate design, and it looked awful.
Holy shit! Have you seen this guy since then?
Yeah, actually, he added me on Facebook, and the first picture I saw was him raising his shirt up, and across his belly, he had an Old English font 580. The caption said,
"Knows associates 580 with Oklahoma."
Yeah, the caption said, "Finally got my tat finished," This thing is massive. It's like the area code all across his torso. And then I saw his daughter with her face painted up like a juggalo. He posted that and was like, "Oh, I'm so proud of my daughter. She did this all by herself." And I was like, it seems like he and I might have grown apart.
Yeah. So one more quick tattoo story, because I know we need to get back to this.
Oh, I got a tattoo story when you're done.
Morgan came with me to get my first tattoo, which, by the way, Morgan's first tattoo was done in Oklahoma by his cousin's, at the time, boyfriend, who's now her husband. So Morgan comes with me. We go to Wichita Falls, closest place, someplace right outside of the Air Force Base. We get there, and I've never been a real breakfast eater, so we just go in. I get what I want. The guy's working on me, and he sees that I'm like, and this is totally going to make me sound like a bitch. So he sees me sweating, and I'm not saying nothing, because I don't want to, come off like I'm, some little bitch, because it didn't hurt. I mean, I've got 10 tattoos. None of them have ever hurt. But he sees me sweating, and he's like, "Hey, bro, you okay?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm good. I think I'm 19. And finally he stops, and he's like, "Hey, have you eaten anything today?" I was like, "No, we're going to go grab something to eat whenever we got done." So basically, my blood sugar was so low that I was just sweating, about to pass out from the tattoo. He had to lay me back, put a fan on me. And I guess this happens a lot with him, because he had like a basket of Dum Dum suckers ready to go, and he was like, "Here." He just sets it in my lap. He's like, "Eat these while I finish." And yeah, I just sat there and ate suckers. And then, so that taught me, every time for the next 9 tattoos, I always had a huge ass meal before I went and got another one.
When we
Everybody knows James Heston, right?
Yeah.
Have y'all heard this story yet?
No.
No, I don't think so.
There was an illegal tattoo shop set up in the 158 on our second deployment overseas in Iraq. And, well, Master Sergeant Heston at the time decided he wanted a tattoo and was going to say Camp Ramadi. Well, the kid that was giving out tattoos misspelled Ramadi, and he spelled it Ramdi. Camp Ramdi.
That happened to a nicer guy.
Yeah, poor Heston.
Yeah. When we were deployed on that first deployment, I was eating breakfast in the palace, and one of those California Guard guys was reading Stars and Stripes, and he was like, "Hey, excuse me, soldier, you're one of the Oklahoma boys, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I just read in Stars and Stripes that Oklahoma just legalized tattooing." And I was like, "Oh, yeah?" He was like, "Yeah, so does that mean that it was actually illegal until now?" "Yes, that's what that means." He was like, "Wow." And that's how I found out that tattoos were legal in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I think I got a tattoo whenever I left, came back on leave.
Huh.
And I remember, so one of the best tattoos, leave tattoos, that deployment was, I think it was one of the Wilkerson brothers. Which one was it?
Was it just Steven?
Yeah, Steven, yeah, because he got the 6-pack of beer on his stomach.
Well, and he had the toe tag, too.
That was in Washington. He got the 6-pack of beer in Washington.
Okay. So then he came back with a toe tag then. And maybe the pistol on his belt or his waistband.
Yeah, because I remember, I think he got the 6-pack of beer while in Washington. Like, he went to a tattoo shop, or maybe on our 4-day pass he got it done.
Yeah, because I got, let's see, I think I got 2 while on leave. So.
Well, the final matchup in the NFC is Bruce number 1 in the league, going up against Finch, who has won 3 straight. Bruges has got some guys on bye. I think he's got a couple injuries, maybe. Yeah, he's got Deshaun Jackson still injured, and maybe he comes back. But I think it's a very good chance that Finch pulls out his 4th straight victory, gets to 4-2, and maybe he'll stop bitching.
So here's one thing right off the bat that I see that's going to be very important between these two matchups is the quarterback situation. You've got Peyton Manning, Eli Manning. Not really high on both of them.
Yeah, but the Cleveland defense has been horrible.
That's true. And, I mean, I would probably, quarterback-wise, I would give the edge to Jackie. He does have, I mean, DeMarco Murray just had that one. He had pretty good, I mean, not pretty good. He had a good week 1 and has been terrible since then. And then last week he come out with 25 points. I don't know if Chip Kelly finally found a way to maximize what he can do, but and then of course he's got a hole in his flex position too.
That's what I think is going to be interesting this week. And the reason why I say that, he has some safe plays with Eric Decker, Tony Gwynn Jr., or he can go with Ellington, who is now considered 3rd string in the Arizona backfield.
Did you say Tony Gwynn?
Did I say Tony Gwynn?
It's Tony Gwynn.
I have baseball on my mind because the Cubs are in the NLCS.
Fuck the Cubs. Speaking of that, I need to go check on my Astros.
Oh, bandwagon, huh?
What?
Well, I'm going to pick Finch to pull this out, and I really hope he does, just so he'll stop whining. But Bruges does have a good team. That's why he's 1st in the league, so I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls it out.
In this one right here, I'm going to pick Finch solely on the fact that Jackie is ahead of me. And if he loses and I win, then I can take over that number 1 spot. It wouldn't surprise me if Jackie did win, though.
Although I think I'm going to switch and say that Bruce wins because Finch has got Sammy Watkins in a flex spot. He may not play, and even if he does play, he's probably going to have E.J. Manuel throwing the ball. So I'm not really confident in him. But that does it for the NFC. So none of us are super familiar with the PFC, and they don't have any managers called in tonight. But 2 things happened this week. The Nightmares, which is Jimmy Mitchell, they were number 1 in the league at 4-0, and they finally lost. They also lost Jamal Charles. Unlike the other 2 conferences, they don't have great running back depth. So, and they haven't scored that many points either. So they're kind of a paper tiger, and I think this is going to start the downfall, and they're just going to get worse and worse. But the Orange Bloods, which is McKay, they finally pulled out a victory. So they're 1-4. They're 1-4. The Nightmares are 4-1, and the Orange Bloods have 27 more points than Mitchell. Mitchell has by far the easiest schedule in the PFC. It's even easier than yours, Leo. Another storyline is Stephen Pennington. You know, he was nice enough to accept an invite to the Oil 3 weeks into the season. He takes over Hudson's team, which is 1-2, and he's won 2 straight. So here he is at 3-2. He's on a 2-game winning streak. He's active on the waiver wire. I think he'll be a really great addition. He wasn't given a great team to start his oil career, but I think that he'll probably finish middle of the pack this season, but then next season be a real threat to win it all.
So one thing that I was pretty stoked about, I guess, pretty excited. So I was able to brag about our fantasy league today to one of my coworkers who's really big into fantasy football. And I took the opportunity to kind of say, well, you know what? I'm pretty sure that we go a little bit more hardcore than you do, because I mean, he kind of, brought up, hey, we play for money and we've been doing this for years. And I showed him the website. I was able to show him all the leagues, to explain how we do our rivalries, our logos and everything like that. And the one thing that he was really impressed with was looking at the PFC league, because I really explained to him, hey, this is a pretty new guys. I mean, this is what, their second year?
It's their first year.
First year, okay. I told him it was, I think, the second. But, yeah, he was just, like, blown away with just the PFC stuff that we had done so far. So I take, and I hope everyone else does, full advantage of bragging on our whole league, the whole oil, any chance they get when someone says that they're hardcore fantasy football players.
Yeah, when somebody brags about their league, it is kind of hard not to ask, like, yeah, but have you been featured on Yahoo?
It's a pretty impressive resume.
Yeah, and the PFC, it definitely has its issues with it being the first season. But okay, so McKay, like I said, he's 1-4, but he's made 17 moves already. It's not for not trying. The 6th place team right now is the Vandals, and like I said before, that's a friend of mine. That's a Marine Corps vet. He'd never played fantasy before, and so neither has Gomez. Gomez is the preppers. He's not made any moves. He's never played. He just kind of thinks, well, I've got my team. I'll just play my guys. The Vandals are the opposite. They've never played before, but they think it's really fun. So they just keep making moves for the sake of making moves. They're at 16 moves now. He traded Cam Newton for Isaiah Crowell and Doug Martin because he had nobody at running back. And then he immediately dropped Doug Martin for some scrub. I said, what are you doing? And he said, oh, I did like projected points, and this guy was supposed to get more points this week, and I just like picking up players and trying to find new players. So not to say that he really gets it just yet.
But that's the way you learn. It's like trial by error.
Yeah. It's like you don't trade for somebody, then immediately drop them for somebody you could have picked up anyway. But I'd rather have that than just, don't look at your team the first 3 weeks like Hudson did.
Yeah.
Cordis couldn't do the weekly preview this week because he had a big test coming up. But he's been really good about doing that weekly write-up in that conference. And he's doing that despite the fact that he's by no means at the top of the standing. He's in 12th place right now at 2-3. But he's got a pretty decent team. Hey, did you guys see Cole Beasley in a blue Falcons uniform?
No.
Can you see that?
I like that.
Yeah, so, like last season, slowly, over the course of the season, we got every team in the AFC uniform set and logos, and then every single team got at least one player photoshopped into their uniforms. we're doing that now with the PFC. This week it's Cole Beasley with the Falcons, and that's just a really good looking uniform.
Yeah, it really is. Who now? So if I remember right, we only have 6 teams in the PFC who have logos.
I think it's 7 now. We've got Straley with the Enforcers, Mitchell with the Nightmares, Bure with his Dirty Dogs, Tadlock with Team Tadlock, the Boomtown Brawlers,
Which is coming soon. It's like in the works, right?
No, they have a logo. They just haven't uploaded it to Yahoo.
Oh, I guess I haven't seen it.
Let me pull it up here.
Okay, all right.
And this is Carlos Hyde.
Nice.
I really like their uniforms. It's kind of like Wyoming in the fact that it's distinctive because it's brown and gold, but it's not like yellow gold.
Right.
And I suggested that to Break because he works in oil and gas and he lived in North Dakota for a bit, and so the Boomtown Brawlers just seemed like it fit. So that's 5 Brawlers: Tadlock, Bure, Nightmares, and Enforcers. That's 5, and then you got the Falcons and the Sixers. Yeah, that's 7. The Drifters are in progress right now. The Preppers will probably be after that. So half the league right now has a logo and uniforms, and it's just little by little getting it done. I find people on Reddit that are good at this type of graphic design and hire them to do this. It's usually not that much. The photoshopping of the players, if you want it done right, it can cost a fair amount, like $20, which don't ever tell my wife I said that. But I just think it's really cool. I really enjoy it. If you go to that Oil in Action page, it's got all of them that's been done so far in order of the season that they depict. So starting in 2006, we got my LaDainian Tomlinson in my uniform just because I felt like we had to have LaDainian Tomlinson. He's kind of a legend.
Yeah.
The other 4 are players that were on teams that made the playoffs that year, and kind of goes through. Some of them are just like Brett Favre. I wanted him to be in there because he's also kind of a legend, and he was your quarterback in 2007. Chris Johnson. I never thought he would be relevant again, but now it's looking like he is. I've got a sad Jay Cutler when I put him on the bowl. I benched him right before the 2009 Oil Bowl, and then he blew up, and Vince Young crapped the bed, and I lost. Michael Turner and Randy Moss and Steven Jackson, Wes Welker, those are guys that it's kind of like if we didn't do it now, then we're never going to get an opportunity. Then you start getting into more, current players, but Pierre Thomas is probably done. Eli Manning in a Reapers uniform, that's what Yancey used to be. One of my favorites is this Matthew Stafford in a Hard Target uniform in a snowstorm.
So one thing that I was thinking about a few days ago was if I ever moved, would I move my franchise from the Norman Nobodies, like say if I moved to like Oklahoma City?
I don't know. I feel like at this point it's like more of a brand.
Yeah.
The 49ers moved from San Francisco to Santa Clara, and they're not the Santa Clara 49ers.
That's true. I guess, Norman is considered like OKC Metro. But, just hypothetically, what if I moved like down to Texas?
You'd be,
You know, you come out with this big thing like, hey, the Norman nobodies are moving from Norman to, you know.
I'll just put it in the bylaws that if your franchise moves, you have to keep the name.
Mm.
By the way, I love the Cox here. Obviously, I have a lot of fun with this. It's kind of turned into my main hobby. I wish I had the skills to do this stuff on my own. I don't. I just hire people to do it on Reddit. But then as you get to the bottom here, this is the Nightmares of Jamal Charles. May his ACL rest in peace. The Rebel Alliance, they weren't in the AFC last year, so they got one for this year. That's his first round pick, LaShawn McCoy. You've got Team Tadlock with Travis Kelce. These are all the ones from this season. The aforementioned Cole Beasley. And here we got the Boomtown Brawlers. And then the Dirty Hippies, Le'Veon Bell. He was on their team last year when they won the championship, and then he was their number one pick this year. If you look close, even the glove is like the gloves where you put two together and it shows the logo.
For some reason, with the hippies, I always feel like the eye should be like a joint with smoke at the top.
And that's pretty good. I never thought of that. And then this is Antonio Brown on the Brewmasters. So had a lot of fun with that. Not going to spend too much more time talking. When the PFC wants to call in, we'll spend more time talking about it. But I think it's going really well. I will say that the two favorites right now are Straley's Enforcers and the Great Plains Drifters, which is Gray. Gray is another guy that I kind of had to like twist his arm to join the league, but now he's so obsessed with it. He's got 849 points, which is over 200 more points than Jimmy Mitchell. He's just been killing it. He's had a couple of tough losses at 3-2, but
that's more points than the NFC. No, well, NFC number one.
Yeah, and just outside of a couple teams, just a lot of competition. Guys are talking to each other, and of course that's the most important part is the camaraderie and keeping in touch. But speaking of, holy shit, Zerger, the NFC's been around for 10 years, and we don't have near the chatter that y'all have in the trash talk section. Wait, is Zerger gone?
Yeah, he's gone.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what I'm talking about. Since I'm a co-manager for a team I'm a co-manager for a team in the AFC and the PFC. That's how I can access everything. But I get notifications for every time somebody posts in the trash talk for the AFC, and it's tons and tons of trash talk back and forth. And the most vocal is probably Lynn. Like the quietest, most reserved guy is the most vocal and just talking shit all the time. And then of course you've got Rowe, Zerger, and Schuster constantly making like mom jokes and like semi-borderline homoerotic jokes. I mean, it's kind of like it's like you're at drill
with the Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Yeah, so we started that AFC 2 years ago. After we had to go to the funeral of somebody, and just thought if it's a way that guys can keep in touch more, it'll be worth it. And it's worked out really well. Those guys are keeping in touch and talking trash, and I've really enjoyed kind of overseeing it. And I think the same thing is going to happen with the PFC. But that's it for this week. Good luck, Leo.
All right. Thank you. You too.
All right. Have a good night.
See ya.